In today's video, I'm going to lay out what I think are 6 essential tips for new riders. I am by no means an expert, but I've been riding almost 10 years. I've had a few wrecks, and I've had a lot of times that I've saved myself. So I feel like I have something to offer on the subject. Number 1, and I feel like this is the most important one, and I don't think it's going to be one that most people would think of making number 1, but it's something I stand on, and that is maintain situational awareness at all times. I mean, these cars, they do not see you. Make sure you know where they're at. Always stay in your rear views. I'm not one of those that thinks removing your mirrors from a bike is very smart. I'm not dogging on people who do, but it's not for me, and I honestly don't think it's the way. Because you want to keep situational awareness. At stoplights, on the road, you want to know where everyone's at as you pass them, as they're coming up on you. At stoplights, I recommend keeping it in gear. Pull to one side or the other, so if you do get hit, you're not sandwiched, and if you happen to notice them coming, you have an out. So situational awareness is so important when riding motorcycles. You can get hurt so quick riding these if you're not careful. Now, done right, motorcycling is a great hobby, and it's relatively safe. I mean, really, it's all on how you treat it. There's a lot of people who go their whole riding career without a serious injury. Alright, so for the situational awareness, I'm going to stay behind this car and line up one of the ways I showed you guys, because this is so important. Okay, they're going to turn, but I usually like to go towards the middle like this and see, say, if he was still stopped, I would have a way around him if anything went wrong. Stay in the rear view, see I have a car coming up on me, but they're turning, so. And also staying here, because people will try to push past you. So staying in this position will allow them to go around you if they're turning without putting you in a bad spot. So, number 2. And I feel like this is the one everyone would think of first, and that is gear. Now, as you can see, I ride in a t-shirt. So as far as like full gear goes, I'm not one of those that says every time you ride you have to be full gear, because it's what you're comfortable with. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to wear a riding jacket, fine. If you don't want to, just know the risks. It puts you at more risk of breaking bones and getting some serious road rash and skin taken off. Me, I put thousands upon thousands of miles on my bikes a year. I'm on them more than I'm in my car. I choose not to fully gear up every time I go out. I do fully gear up sometimes. Usually if I'm going out to do some cooling and stuff, I'll put on the riding jacket, or just if I get a feeling. Trust your gut. Now, in my opinion, the absolute must-haves, and I don't know why people ever ride without it, is a helmet and gloves. I mean, the helmet, like, oh, see, I think he was trying to get in front of me, but it was too late for me to really do much except for hope he didn't hit me or get out of the way. I mean, a small bump on the head can end it all or turn you into a vegetable. Gloves, when you're airborne and you're about to land on the ground, the first thing you do is stick your hands out, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to shave off the palms of my hands. Now, the gloves I have on now are summer gloves, so they're not going to offer the best protection. There's better gloves out there. Again, that's a calculated choice I make. Whether you want to ride in pants or shorts, at first, honestly, I'd recommend just wearing all the gear just in case. But again, it's your choice. It's a free country, and that's the beauty of it. Number 3. Now, I'm not one of those people that's going to sit here and preach what bikes people should start on. Are there some that are smarter than others to start on? Sure. Starting small is smarter. When I started, I rode a 650 for a month. realized that was not a sport bike, and went and bought a $1,000 Repsol. Now, I've had a few wrecks and I've learned, but I did fairly good. It's all in the self-control you have. If you don't have good self-control, you probably should stay away from the 1,000 for your first bike. Honestly, it's not the smartest idea, but people do it and they're fine. So I'm not going to sit here and preach on it. But this brings me to the point that I was actually making, is don't buy new. Because chances are, as a new rider, you're going to drop your bike, you're going to scuff it up. Things are going to happen. You're going to learn things on it, you know, your clutch control, all that. Buying new is probably not the best way. I wouldn't buy new if it was me. Now, I did buy new, and I paid dearly for it, and that is why I'm giving this advice. Now, on to the next point, is avoid group rides. Group rides can get hectic. You got a lot of people doing wild stuff. You got people that think they're street Rossies. You got people that are inexperienced. And you got experienced riders that, without trying to, are just maneuvering better and working their bike better, forcing you into a spot to try to keep up. Group rides are just a recipe for disaster when you're a new rider, and that's for everybody, even the experienced riders in the group. Because you not knowing what you're doing can cause other people to wreck. And group rides, when one person wrecks, they usually take a person or two with them. We've all seen the videos. Which brings me to the sub point of this, is don't ride outside your skill level. Don't try to keep up with other people who are more experienced. Ride how you are comfortable. It's just, if you try to keep up with people, it's going to put you in a bad spot. It's going to put them in a bad spot. It's just a recipe for disaster. But definitely avoid the group rides. I see new people in group rides all the time, and it creates a very hectic situation. I'm an experienced rider, and group rides can get a little, I mean, you really got to keep situational awareness. A lot is going on. People are flying past you. People are doing wheelies. People are braking for no reason whatsoever. So yeah, I recommend the first season as a new rider, just avoid the group rides. It's just a good idea to just go out on your own pace, your own terms, and get comfortable with the machine that you've chosen to buy. And that puts it so you're not feeling forced into any type of situation. Now for my next point, and this one is so important, and it kind of piggybacks off the last point, is practice. Don't be afraid just to go to a parking lot and practice some basic stuff. I mean, as far as, you know, leaning, and if you don't quite know what you're doing leaning, there's tons of instructional videos out there. The most basic point until you're better is, unless you're low speed, so you don't move the bars. See how I just keep my front wheel straight and lean. And you'll learn. I mean, go to a parking lot, maybe put up some cones, maybe just, you know, dilly-dally around. I still go to parking lots every now and then and just practice leaning and stuff. And you want to practice emergency braking, because that can be the difference between a collision or not. My last wreck, if I'd have been more on the emergency braking, I probably wouldn't have wrecked. So, and I mean, I'm fairly experienced, but I'm not perfect. You know, stuff happens. We all have an off day, and it only takes once on a bike. It only takes that one moment where you're not on your game all the way, and boom, it's a catastrophe. I'm not trying to scare anyone away from bikes. They're great, they're awesome, but there is risk involved, and there's just some things that you should be on. And I mean, one of the good instructional videos is Twist of the Wrist, and they'll show you like the actual physics of the lean and how it works, but that's a little bit more advanced leaning. I recommend just practicing and staying where you're comfortable. You know, if you're not comfortable with highway yet, then don't. You know, if you're new, I'd highly recommend against topping out your bike. Unless you have a Grom, then feel free. Yeah, just practice. Now for the final point, and I think this one is every bit as important, but it's more of a preference, but it's something I preach, and that is learn the maintenance on your bike. You know, learn how to do the oil changes, the chain tension, you know, adjusting the clutch lever, all that stuff. Learn. I'm not saying you have to go and start tearing into your bike, and this is another reason I say buy used, because you're probably going to mess up. That's okay. That's part of it. Everybody who works on anything has messed up a bunch to get good at what they're doing. But at the end of the day, all mechanicing is nuts and bolts. I strongly recommend, if you're going to ride, you know, to do your own basic maintenance, at least oil changes and your chain maintenance. And I will do a video coming up on chain maintenance. I think I actually have an old one, but I think I can do better. But chain maintenance is very important, because if a chain snaps, it is a catastrophic failure. Oil changes are important. Life of your engine, keep your bike healthy. You want to stay checking your brakes. I recommend, if not daily, at least once a week, do an inspection on your bike. You know, just go through, wiggle stuff, check it out, make sure everything's working, nothing's loose, nothing's broke. Check your tire pressures. Everyone has their own preference on tire pressures. I think as a riding community, we're pretty much all in agreement that the 3642 that most sport bikes recommend is too high of a tire pressure. It puts you at more chance of sliding out, because your tires are fuller, harder, which makes them slicker, less contact patch. Well, it doesn't make them slicker, but less contact patch. I run, I don't remember what I run on the Grom, but these are different tire pressures. On my sport bikes, though, I usually run 34 front, 33 rear. That's what I'm comfortable with. Play with it, you'll get your own feel for it, but I wouldn't do the max tire pressure. I think it's asinine sport bikes do that. I'm sure there's people out here who will disagree with what I'm saying, and that's okay. Tire pressures on a tire are the max recommended PSI. That doesn't mean that's what you have to run. A lot of things play into the factor too: ambient temperature, road temperature, how fast you're going. You know, there's a lot that goes into play into it. It'll be overwhelming at first. Just take your time, you know. As long as you treat it with respect, riding is something you'll do for a long time, and you'll learn along the way. Just want to throw a bonus point in here. For the love of God, if you're new, don't lane split. I mean, if you're experienced, you got to decide if that's something that's for you. But if you're new, don't lane split. It's a horrible idea if you don't know what you're doing. Don't just get out there and try to do all the stuff you see on the TikToks and the Instagram and YouTube and all that. I lane split in select situations. I don't lane split a lot because it can get hairy really quick. Lane splitting and lane filtering are two different things. Do your research. In some states, they're legal, one or both of them. Not in my state and not in most states, but it's just something I would avoid the first few years as a new rider because it's a recipe for disaster.